Okay, fam. That can probably go. It's not aesthetically pleasing, is it? All right, first things first, let's get cozy. Don't mind my hectic bruise. Got James to thank for that one. These also aren't the best chairs, but that is my fault entirely. This whole lounge suite actually was one big mistake. I just thought, it's office furniture. Does it need to be anything super luxe and super cozy? Potentially couldn't have picked a more uncomfortable couch and set of chairs. Planning on selling these, obviously not to you, now that you're aware how shit they are. Anyway, the reason I want to get comfy is because we are about to strap in for one big Q&A session. I just didn't really have, I think I mentioned last week, did I mention it? Don't remember. Don't really have a hectic week this week. I've got some fun things going on this weekend, but because it wasn't really a hectic week, like I don't even really have a lot of meetings or anything this week, it's actually super nice. Hence why I'm just like, I've been to the gym, I've showered, I'm pampered, I've had my lunch. I'm just frolicking around, really, this week. And it's stunning weather. But yet, here I am wanting to give value to you, always. So, I put up a question box on my Instagram and you guys have asked me some questions to answer. So, we're gonna get cozy, candles lit, although James thinks that smells like a toilet. And we are going to, new inquiry. We are going to go over your questions. First things first, put my spectacles on. Complete disclaimer, I don't really need these. I just think it makes me look smarter. I look smarter, I feel smarter. And you know what? I was always that kid when I was younger that wanted all the things that wasn't cool. I wanted glasses, I wanted braces, I wanted to break my arm so I could have that cast on my arm and everyone would write on my arm. Such a weirdo. Anyway, moving on. Oh, that's better. Now I can see everything. Let's do it, shall we? Is everyone cozy? I'm cozy. I could sit here all freaking day. Now, let's get out of TikTok. I was on a hectic doom scroll this morning. Alrighty, let's go through your questions. I had people answer the question box on Instagram, but then I also had people message me because their question was too long for the question box. And I haven't really read through these, to be completely honest. I thought it would be more authentic answers if I just answered them as I read them rather than planning it. I hate when people plan this shit. You can tell. I can tell that you've written down a question and you've put it into ChatGPT and you're answering it just like a robot. Not interested. So I'm just gonna answer all these authentically. I'm gonna get through as many as I can, being mindful that maybe people have asked some of the same questions. So if I find that, I'll skip it. And I have just put another question box on my Instagram being like, I'm recording it now. If you got any questions, let me know. So at the end, we'll jump back into my Instagram, see if there's any new questions. Anyway, Taylor, get on with it. First question I have is, your way of sending watermarked RAWs sounds like a game changer, but does it limit your gallery upgrade conversions because they can't visualize the finished product? Now, I made a reel on this on my Instagram if you'd like to go back and watch that reel, but disclaimer, this is for maternity, family, engagement, product shoots only. This is not wedding photography related. I do not do this for weddings. When I do those other shoots, in those packages, I have like a pretty stock standard way of setting up those packages, and majority of them, they will get 30 images when they receive their gallery. Now, what I used to do is I used to edit the whole gallery and then send them the photos, and then they would only pick their 30. So I've spent all this time and energy editing all these photos that they didn't even select. I changed that workflow because I was wasting so much time on photos that they weren't even selecting. So what I do now, and I won't go through it in depth, but just to answer this question properly so you understand what I'm talking about. What I do now is I send them all the raw images. Now, when I say all, I have obviously culled that down to like 100 or 200 photos. I send them all those images with my watermark on the images, and then they select their favorites from there, and then I edit them. So this person is asking, does it limit your gallery upgrade conversions because they can't visualize the finished product? With my gallery upgrade options, they've got two options. So they can either purchase just a few extra images, and if they decide to do that, it's a certain amount per image. Or if they would like to upgrade to the full gallery, then it's another amount for the full gallery. I'm not saying amounts because I don't want people to assume that that's what they should be charging. Everyone is different. Everyone's at a different stage of their business. I used to hear what other people were charging and think, oh my God, I'm so far behind. That's what I should be charging. Everyone is going at their own pace. You charge what you're comfortable charging. When I say no to this question, it doesn't affect me. I don't think it's because the images are raw that they don't upgrade. I personally think that it's either a budget thing or they're happy with the photos they've selected. They don't need 100 or 150 or 200 photos. They literally just wanted like 30 of their favorites to print, put on the wall, whatever it is. The only reason I'm saying no is because I have never received feedback from my clients saying, we really wish we could see the finished product and we would have selected more. Every time I send the proofs and get my email back saying we've selected our favorites and we would like to be added to the editing queue, every single time I get that email back, my clients say to me, I cannot believe these are the raw photos. Like now we are dying to see the edits. So I think if this is something you are concerned about, if you look at yeah, let's be honest, raw images aren't stunning, but also your raw image should be somewhat pretty good because you should have your settings nailed for those raw images. So for myself, I am not a hectic editor. I don't adjust colors, I don't adjust the hue, I don't mess around with my colors too much. All I do is sort of adjust maybe the brightness, bring the shadows up, make it look a bit creamier. I love that like sort of creamy look in my images. I'm not adjusting colors. So when my couple see the raw images and then see the edits are just enhanced from the raw image. That is it. And everyone's different. So this is not me saying that's how you should edit. Everyone's got a completely different style. That's why we thrive in this industry because everyone's so unique. But I would say if you're concerned about your couple seeing the raw images and then not selecting more, I think it's got a lot more to do with what your raw image looks like. So no, it doesn't impact me. And I'm also not saying that this is how you have to deliver your galleries, but that's just how I do it. And I do it because it saves me time and energy that is wasted if they do not select the full gallery. I think I've just spent 20 minutes on answering one question. So strap in, lads. Okay, so the second question that this person asked was, if you don't hear back after sending a wedding gallery, do you assume that they hate them? No, I've never, ever, ever assumed that they hate the gallery. Majority of the time I do hear back. Maybe it takes them a few days or a week. Often, if I've sent them the gallery or even just sneak peeks, they're on their honeymoon, or I've sent them during the middle of the week, so they're not checking emails. Like, please don't have that straight away negative mindset that once you send it, if you don't hear back straight away, that they hate the photos. They have been anticipating getting these photos. They're all excited. They've probably sat down. They've gone through them together. Their first thought is not, oh my God, I've got to reply and tell them how amazing they are. Like they are in their own moment. They are enjoying the photos for themselves. They are probably downloading certain photos and sending them to friends, sending them to family. Yes, you have just delivered them some of the best memories they will ever have, but you are not the priority in that moment. In that moment, they are taking in all those moments for themselves that they didn't even realize happened, and they're soaking in their day all over again. And they are probably sharing those moments with their family and friends. It has nothing to do with you and them hating the photos. If you don't hear back, there's nothing wrong with like a follow-up email down the track. You can put a sense of humor to that email as well. Just be like, so I haven't left my computer since I sent you your gallery and I'm kind of starving. Can you please just let me know if you love the photos? Like, make it lighthearted. It's not that deep. You know, to you, it might feel major because you rely on that feedback for validation in your work. In the bluntest / nicest way, that moment is not about you. You've sent them their gallery, let them soak it in. They will get back to you when they can. Next question. I'd love to hear about inquiry through to wedding day process. I'd love to simplify my processes. I actually do have a video already on my YouTube channel of this, my exact client process from inquiry through to delivering their gallery, but also album delivery. Because I've already done a video on this, I won't go too much in depth. Like, you can go back and watch that video. But basically, I feel like the more weddings you do or the more clients you have, you do refine this process. To give you my process from inquiry to album in a nutshell. If the option is there to meet in person, I will definitely do that, and I do give them the option. Otherwise, it's either a phone or a Zoom call, preferably a Zoom call if we can't meet in person, because I feel like that face-to-face meeting just relaxes them. They get to see you. I just think you get a better idea of what a person is like when you can meet them face-to-face. So if you can, give them the option to meet in person or a Zoom call. After that, once they book with me, I have a set workflow in my Studio Ninja just to make sure I have touch points with them in the process leading up to the wedding, that I am fully prepared, number one, but they feel confident that I know exactly what I'm doing on their wedding day. So little touch points like organising their photo timeline. Are they feeling nervous in front of the camera? Do they want to book an engagement shoot? Asking if they need help with anything. Sometimes people get to the last minute and there's certain vendors they haven't booked, so I've got a touch point mentioning that, and if they need help with said vendors, I have got referrals that I can give to them. So there's just certain touch points. Be mindful that they are planning a wedding. They've got a million vendors to speak to, so you don't need to keep checking in. I've got maybe 3 touch points in that middle point between booking and wedding. Once I've done their wedding, I send them sneak peeks the next day or 48 hours later. I've got different packages for that. Then I've got their gallery delivery, and after that, it's a testimonial and then their album if they have ordered an album. So that is like my process in a little nutshell. But again, if you want a more in-depth version on that, I do have a full YouTube video on this. So the second part to this question was, do you find being so relatable and active on your socials helps clients feel like they already know you? Yes. I could not give you a bigger yes. Like, I could, but there's people next door, so they're probably gonna hear me. This, being more active and being more myself on social media, has completely changed not only the amount of inquiries that I get, but the type of inquiries. And what I mean by that is couples that are just like me. They love banter, they love to have a good time, they love to have a joke. And yes, going back to what you've just mentioned, they already feel like they know me. So on that, it's actually very interesting. Recently, I've tweaked my initial inquiry response a little bit when clients inquire with me. And in that, they've got the option to book the call or to have a meeting, but they also already have access to my packages. And recently, I think because my approach to social media has become more intense and I have been more myself and showing up more regularly, clients are booking without a meeting. Clients are like, we already want you, we already feel like we know you, just tell us your packages, we're ready to book a deposit. And I'm like, are you sure? Are you aware of how much of a psychopath I am yet? Nah, just joking. That is the benefit of showing up, not only showing up, but being yourself. Like I said before, if I was showing up on here, pre-planning everything and making sure everything is clean cut and perfect and I'm speaking properly and I'm not being my bogan self. I watched a video back of me this morning and I was like, Oh, is that what I sound like? Anyway, that's who I am. That's who I am when I'm relaxed and being myself and just being authentic, and people relate to it. People love it. And although I have moments where I'm like, oh, was that too much? Like, am I being too myself? Should I pull it back and be more professional? But then I'll get an inquiry from a couple that are literally the same as me. They love traveling, they love the ocean, they want like a beautiful day, but they also are very laid back and they're very chill. So I've literally found that showing up more, but also being myself, has completely changed not only the amount of inquiries, but the type of inquiries that I have received. So if you feel comfortable and confident to start showing up more in that way on social media, I could not recommend it more. I've recently started coaching other photographers, and this content conversation is one of the biggest conversations that we have. I've got them in a private group chat and we catch up once a month on Zoom, and content is just the common denominator. Everyone wants help with content. So I could go on for days and days and days about content because I just think it is the new way to market yourself. But showing up more, being authentic will completely change your business. End of story. Okay. Oh my God. How long have I been going for? Oh my goodness. It's already almost been 30 minutes. I've answered 2 people's questions. I'm gonna need an intermission. I mean, not really. I'm kind of used to talking this much. Next we have, let's maybe pick a funny one. Oh my goodness, I loved this question. So just for context, I sometimes will take a little photo of my vision board and I'll use it as like a story on my Instagram or something. And someone has messaged me saying, saw an engagement ring on your vision board, and in brackets she wrote, creepy, I know. I know who this person is, by the way, so it makes it funny. And then she said, tell us your dream proposal scenario. I then shared this question to my story and I tagged James in it, and I was like, get your notepad out, Dal. Which was a complete joke, because this may come as a shock to you, but I do not have a dream proposal scenario. I know that's so weird. Like, I work in the wedding industry. I've heard so many proposal stories and seen so many proposal scenarios or photos. All I can honestly ask for with a proposal is that it's a complete surprise. Sorry, Dal, if that puts a bit of pressure on you, because I feel like when that day comes, you will be so nervous that I will know that something's up. But all I can ask, and I have said this to James, I'm like, if you do not organize professional photography and a video of this moment, I will be pissed. I will say to you, do it again. But that is the reason why I want it to be a complete surprise, because knowing me and just my reaction to things, I just know that those photos and that video will be one of our favorite memories ever, because I don't even know. James always says to me that everyone has like that fight, what is it saying? Flight or fight? Why is that sounding weird? You know when you say a word sometimes and it sounds weird to you? Fight or flight. So people have that fight or flight response, right? And James says to me, you just freeze. So when James gets down on one knee, I'm just gonna stand there. This is my prediction. I could do something else completely out of the ordinary. But my prediction is I will just stand there, frozen, for who knows how long, probably an uncomfortable amount of time for him. But yeah, I don't have this dream of like, oh my God, it has to be on a holiday overseas. Oh my God, it has to be on the beach. Then again, it probably will most likely be on the beach because he knows how much I love the beach. And that's probably also where he feels most comfortable. I can't imagine that he would like a huge amount of like publicity in that moment. Publicity, is that the right word? He wouldn't want a lot of people watching. So it'll probably be on the beach. And that's also probably why I won't see it coming, because we go to the beach all the time. And yeah, all I can honestly ask is that he organizes to capture that moment, because I literally do this job because I have this obsession with preserving memories. That is like my favorite thing. One of my favorite childhood memories is looking back through photo albums of all these memories that you forget about. If you didn't have photos or you didn't have videos, like those home videos on the camcorders, you would forget about memories that happened when you were a kid. That is where all my passion comes from with photography, is that preserving those big milestones in your life is one of my favorite things, and they're always going to be something that you look back on. So all my friends watching this that are photographers and videographers, if you could just kindly message James and just say to him, I'm here when you need, it would be very much appreciated. So yeah, I thought that question was very funny. And I thought it was funny because it's like, people would definitely expect that I've got this huge expectation and huge standard for a proposal. I absolutely don't. I don't need all the bells and the whistles. I would much rather it just be about us, but all I want is that memory is preserved. That's all I care about. So next question. This one is from a celebrant that was recently in one of my workshops. It's actually not a question, I've just realized. She just said, how are you such a legend? Why don't you live closer to Mission Beach? Where is Mission Beach? I know you're up north somewhere, but I don't actually know where that is. So if any couples are watching this and you're getting married in Mission Beach, it seems like I'm wanted up there. If you could just let me know and I'll come shoot your wedding. We'll make her happy. Next one. One thing you absolutely would do and one thing you would never do when/if you got married. That is such a good question. Okay, I know my absolutely would not do. Let's start with that because I know what that is. I will definitely not do a first look. I often have couples ask me, what do you think about the first look? Should we do a first look? It'll give us more time to do photos before the ceremony so we don't have to do photos later. I get all of that, and I say to all my couples, this decision is completely up to you. Please do not ask me to make that decision for you, because if you look back on your day and you did a first look and you regret it, that's on me. That decision is so personal, but for me, I will definitely not be doing a first look, because that moment where you both see each other at the aisle is literally, you can never get the emotion of that moment back in your life ever again. Yes, you can somewhat have that emotion in a first look, and I do recommend it for those couples that are a little bit more reserved and don't like people watching them get emotional. That I understand. I couldn't care less. James might care, but it's not about him. No, it is, I'm just joking. At our wedding, when I've got our stationery, and you know how you've got that sign that's like Taylah and James's wedding? I want our sign to say Taylor's wedding featuring James. I'm gonna have so many banter things in our wedding. It's gonna be good as. Yes, it's very much about us two, but I just, having captured so many weddings, when the bride and the groom see each other for the first time, obviously that is my focus at the time, and it is so hard for me to not tear up in that moment when I can see how emotional they both are. But then when you look around and you see the grandparents getting upset, you see the aunties and the uncles, the best friends, like the groomsmen. When the groomsmen cry, oh my God, that sends me. When the groomsmen cry, there is just so much emotion in that moment for everyone involved. And that is going to be one of the biggest highlights of my day. So in a nutshell, I will absolutely not do a first look. And then what is one thing I would absolutely do? I don't know if this is me just like harping on, because I know I talk about this a lot, but you might just be watching this for the first time. So one thing I will absolutely do, and my couples will all vouch for me on this because I do this for them, I will absolutely be telling my photographer, we need to make sure that the timeline on the day allows for enough photos, but for us to go and be and enjoy cocktail hour. When I say be at cocktail hour, I don't want to be there for 5 minutes and scull one cocktail. I want to be there for like half an hour, 45 minutes, soaking it in, getting to be present with everyone there, all my family, all my friends. That is one thing I absolutely will do, is be at my cocktail hour. Nothing makes me cringe more when I hear couples have had their wedding day and they are so disappointed that they missed out on that aspect of their day because the photos took too long and their photographer didn't take them back in time. It's often actually not a fault of the photographer, it's just a communication thing. So I say to every single one of my couples, do you want to be at cocktail hour? And 99.9% of them say yes, because they're all like me and they want to have a good time. That is one thing I absolutely will do, and the won't do, first look. What have we got next? I'd love to hear about your client experience. So we've got a repeat question here. I answered that one earlier. Next one is from my friend. I was waiting for a friend to put a ridiculous question in that box. But she said, do I have to lift a camera all day to get biceps like yours? I don't really know what you're talking about. I have the weakest little chicken arms ever. If you guys have been following along from the start of this vlogging journey, I talk a lot about my health and fitness goals. So me being consistent with the gym this year is, aside from my business, one of my biggest goals this year is to be consistent, to get fitter and to change, not my body shape, because I'm not overweight. I just want to change. I want to put on more muscle and I want to have less body fat. So the fact that she's asked if that's what she has to do to get biceps like mine, I'm like, yeah, I think at this point she actually might be taking the piss, which is quite rude. And how long have we been going for? Because I think this cuts me off at an hour. A few more and then we'll wrap it up. Best camera settings for very lit daytime shots. Now, in my vlog I did last week, we had a styled shoot and my friend who was the planner actually said to me, I didn't realize how much you loved the sun. I love shooting in daylight, and that is so rare to hear from a photographer. Most photographers want your sunrise, your sunset, and don't get me wrong, I love sunrise and sunset, but I've just found this newfound love of like strong sun. I just find it like very editorial. I love that sharp, unique look. I don't know what it is. It's just come out of nowhere, really. But settings, what I'll say, I wish I had my camera here. Maybe when I edit this, I'll put up here somewhere what I'm talking about. When I am in full sun, I will have my aperture up, not quite high, but it'll be around 5.6-ish. And then my shutter speed will be either 500 or 1,000. That's depending on how hectic the lighting is where I am. And then I play with the ISO from there. So the reason I want to show you something here is because there was actually a little setting, not a setting, but a little feature on my camera I only really discovered 6 months to a year ago. And there's that little exposure meter down the bottom. When you're looking at the screen on your camera or even like through your viewfinder, you can assume that you need it more like brighter or more well lit. And so I would always have my brightness up too high. And it wasn't until I started paying attention to that exposure meter and making sure the little meter was either in the middle or actually I normally have it a little bit lower. It's because when you're editing, it is so much easier to edit an image to make it brighter than to bring out the brightness in an image. So when I'm shooting in daylight, I actually try to have that little meter below the middle, especially if you're working with a photo that has some sun and some shade. I will just forfeit the shade at that point and make sure the sun isn't too overexposed, because I know I can always bring those shadows up. When you take exposure out of an image, you've already ruined the image. It looks fucked. Roughly, aperture 5.6, shutter speed 500 to 1,000, ISO I adjust based on the lighting that I'm working with. Hopefully that's helpful. Maybe I can do a full video on camera settings. Let me know. I've got one more on here and then I'm going to quickly jump into my Instagram and see if anyone's asked any more questions. Otherwise, we are wrapping this shit up. Top tips for growth into full-time business. All right, let's think of three. Three top tips to go full-time. So I'm obviously just going to share with you what I did. So I'm actually originally from Melbourne. So when I moved up to the Gold Coast and I had to go back to working a part-time job while I started over again, I reckon I went full-time in my business 6 months after moving here. One, because I had no friends, so I had nothing else to do but to build my business. So I was like, oh, well, may as well work on my business again because I've got no one to see or nothing to do. Top 3 things that I focused on and hustled for when I moved here to get to full-time within 6 months was reached out to vendors and organized styled shoots. So I had the content here. It was one thing for me to already have content in Melbourne, but then I was getting inquiries for Melbourne. I needed to start getting inquiries here. If you are currently part-time and you're trying to go full-time, styled shoots not only help with networking, but they also help with getting more content and pushing that content out there to attract more inquiries and more clients, especially for the type of client you want to attract. So styled shoots, number 1. Number 2, free shoots. I was always posting about offering free engagement shoots. Actually, I think that was the main thing that I did because I knew that if I got the free engagement shoot with them, 9 times out of 10, they were going to book me for their wedding. So I was just doing as many free engagement shoots as I possibly could. And if I could convert that into a wedding, amazing. Now, if you're not in the wedding industry, I would just do free shoots for whatever industry you are trying to build full time. If that's commercial, I would literally pick a brand that you love, buy their new product, find a model, go do a shoot, there's your content. People are gonna see that content and go, holy shit, I love your work. Can you shoot my brand? The more you do that, the more content you have, the more inquiries you're going to get, the quicker your business will be full-time. Last thing, I sound like a broken record, but last tip is content. We are in 2026, fam. Content is king. I totally get it. I used to hate the idea of content as well. I found it so overwhelming. I was not confident yet to be in front of the camera, have imposter syndrome. I couldn't think of good ideas to use for content. I'm so sorry. I probably keep whacking this mic and that's probably making terrible noises. But yes, the quicker you can be consistent with your content, the quicker you're going to grow your business. It may not be what everyone wants to hear because I know a lot of people find the content side so daunting. I actually follow this guy called James Smith. So started off being a personal trainer, then built an online personal training business. Now he's a business coach and he's got a drink. So he's like now in the e-commerce business, but I have followed him for years. And one thing that he said that has never left my brain is that you will post 100 bits of content before you get any good at content. So I am still in that phase. Even though people reach out to me and say, hey, I love your content. How are you so consistent? How do you show up all the time? Blah, blah, blah. I am currently in that phase of posting my 100 bits of content and finding what works and finding what gets people engaged, what gets inquiries, what doesn't, what flops, what doesn't. Don't go into creating content with the mindset that everything has to be perfect, everything has to go viral, everything has to do well, everything has to get new clients. It doesn't work like that. I feel like I've only just started to get momentum now after posting consistently for a year. It's like anything. You don't just get abs overnight. You have to be consistent. You have to learn what your audience want to see. And the more you do it, the more eyes on your business and the quicker your business will go full-time. They were all the pre-answered questions. Let's jump into my Instagram now. I'm kind of about to lose my voice, not gonna lie. So I'm kind of hoping there's no more questions. Nothing in the question box, but someone has just commented on one of my posts saying, what camera do you use? That comment was obviously on a reel, so I'm just going to end on that. I use Canon for all my digital photos, so I have a Canon R6. I do have 2 lenses for that, but I mainly just stick with my 24-70 lens. I just love being able to zoom in and zoom out and not have to move around as much. It's so much easier. So that body and lens is my ride or die for shoots and weddings. Film, I shoot on a Canon AE1. That is my main film camera, but then I also have a little Olympus point and shoot as well. So my Canon AE1 is I use throughout the day in like those harsh lighting scenarios. And then I use my point and shoot when it gets later into the day and I've got my flash on the point and shoot. Yes, I can get a flash for the Canon AE1. Everything's already heavy enough as it is. My back is already going. I'm 32. So less weight, the better. I'd rather just use that during the day and then I've got my point and shoot at night. That is my camera setup. It's not excessive. People think I've got all this gear, like, oh my God, what's in your camera bag? Not much. Digital camera, 2 film cameras, my harness, my flash, batteries, SD cards. There's a fair bit in there actually. Anyway, in terms of cameras, I don't have a million cameras. I can't be asked having a million cameras. I already get overwhelmed and indecisive as it is. I need 1 camera and 1 lens. Otherwise my brain will explode. Hopefully those questions were helpful. If you've got more questions, put them in the comments. I will respond to comments on this video. Thank you again so much for being here, for watching, for putting up with me talking so much shit all the time. Hopefully it's helpful. Hopefully it's valuable. Just want to help you guys. That's what this is all about. And yeah, I'm gonna go eat some jelly now.